There's a profound deception that society has peddled to you from the earliest days of your childhood, an insidious myth designed to keep you complacent and contained. It's the notion that the most powerful, resilient version of yourself emerges gradually, through soft, nurturing processes like personal growth exercises, daily affirmations, or by simply embracing and leaning into your so-called authentic self. This fairy tale isn't just harmless. It's the final nail hammered into the coffin of those destined to remain powerless, forever sidelined in the game of life. But Machiavelli, as some might stylize him in modern shorthand, understood the raw, unfiltered truth that the establishment will never dare to impart in schools or self-help seminars. The ultimate, unbreakable version of yourself isn't carefully constructed like a delicate sculpture. No, it's hammered into existence in the blazing inferno of your own deliberate self-destruction, tempered by trials that strip away everything superfluous. This transformation isn't about gently refining or polishing the person you currently are, adding a few shiny layers to mask imperfections. It's about systematically executing that man, killing him off with cold precision. And I don't mean this in some abstract metaphorical sense, or even a spiritual rebirth through meditation and enlightenment. I mean it strategically, as a calculated move in the chessboard of existence. The instant you hold on too tightly to your former self, to the errors you've committed, the frailties you've displayed, the comfortable persona you've draped over yourself like a well-worn skin, you render yourself utterly predictable. In the arena of power dynamics, predictability is the ultimate liability. Predictable individuals don't wield influence or command respect. They merely orbit those who do, serving as pawns in someone else's grand strategy. The pinnacle of strength isn't embodied by the individual who embarks on a quaint journey of self-discovery, unearthing hidden truths about his inner being. Far from it. True strength belongs to the one who methodically wipes the slate clean, obliterating his old identity and inscribing a fresh, formidable name upon the smoldering remains. This philosophy isn't packaged as feel-good self-help drivel, the kind peddled in best-selling books with pastel covers and uplifting quotes. This is raw psychological warfare, a battle waged not against external foes or societal structures, but within the confines of your own mind. There, in the shadowed recesses of your skull, lurks the phantom of your former self, murmuring insidious cautions. Proceed with care, avoid ruffling feathers, remain diminutive and unthreatening. That spectral voice must be eradicated, not through the gentle balm of positive affirmations or motivational mantras, but via a swift surgical act of inner violence, a decisive strike that silences it forever. Machiavelli didn't pen his treatises on power for the casual self-improvement enthusiasts, those who dabble in weekend workshops or apps, promising quick mindset shifts. His words were forged for the reconstructed souls, the ones who've undergone the crucible and emerged anew. For those rare individuals who grasp the essence, genuine power isn't unearthed by amplifying more of your existing traits or doubling down on your current essence. Instead, it's liberated by shedding layers of who you've been, becoming progressively less tethered to that outdated version. Your history isn't a sturdy base upon which to build, it's a confining prison cell, bars forged from old narratives that limit your potential. Your established reputation, far from a valuable commodity, it's a restrictive tether, yanked by others to keep you in line, and that vaunted authenticity everyone preaches. It's no gateway to liberation, it's a cleverly disguised snare, luring you into vulnerability under the guise of virtue. The most dominant iteration of you doesn't merely evolve in a linear, organic fashion, adapting bit by bit like a plant reaching for sunlight. He detonates the obsolete framework entirely, shattering it into fragments, then ascends from the debris like a phoenix forged in chaos. In this reborn state, he stands unrecognizable to former allies and adversaries alike, impervious to their tactics, equipped with a chilling lucidity. No remnant of the previous man lingers to be manipulated or weaponized against him. At its core, this is the doctrine of power reinvention, the Machiavellian mastery of self-annihilation, wielded as a deliberate tactical instrument. It transcends superficial alterations, like switching professions for a fresh start or shedding pounds to fit a new image. No, it's about incinerating the totality of your identity in a controlled blaze, reducing it to nothingness, so that upon your resurgence, no opponent can devise a strategy against you. You've obliterated the schematic of your flaws, scrubbed clean the cartography of your susceptibilities. What was once your burdensome history now transforms into an ethereal spectre that torments your detractors, leaving you unscathed and supreme. The majority of people only attempt reinvention in moments of utter despair, when life has shattered them, when failures pile up like wreckage, when their vulnerabilities are laid bare for all to see. They rebrand hastily, out of sheer necessity, desperately clinging to their fundamental essence, while applying a superficial veneer to conceal the underlying decay. But that's not authentic reinvention. It's a futile exercise, akin to reshuffling lounge chairs on a sinking Titanic, delaying the inevitable plunge without altering the doom. In stark contrast, the true Machiavellian operative strikes at the zenith of his perceived stability. He reinvents precisely when the world believes it has him decoded, when his public image is crystallized and unassailable, when rivals smugly assume they've charted every chink in his armor. That's the opportune moment to erase the familiar self, not through a quiet fade into obscurity, but via a resounding explosion that echoes through the corridors of influence. You don't incrementally cultivate strength like a gardener tending blooms. You demolish frailty in a single cataclysmic blow. You don't tinker with self-improvement techniques. You renounce ownership of your former self entirely. Through this radical disavowal, you evolve into something elusive, untraceable in your motives, unpredictable in your actions, and utterly unbreakable in spirit. This is the mechanism by which true power is captured, not politely requested or gradually accrued through merit, by rendering your history an obsolete dialect that no one can fluently wield against you. You neutralize their arsenal. When adversaries lunge with tales of your yesteryears, they grasp at emptiness, mere wisps of smoke, profound quietude, a daunting abyss where your former vulnerabilities once hemorrhaged openly. Machiavelli discerned this timeless principle ages past. He famously advised that one seeking respect should prioritize it over affection, but his insight delved even further into the shadows. To become truly indomitable, you must shed any resemblance to the version of yourself that was once halted or humbled. The apex form of you isn't merely an upgraded edition, refined and enhanced. It's an entirely novel entity, donning your name as impenetrable plating, and this protective sheath possesses a singular defining trait: the unyielding resolve to slay your own ego repeatedly, preemptively, long before external forces can deliver the fatal strike. Now let's methodically vivisect the structure of this reinvention process, not as lofty philosophical musings, but as pragmatic tactics in the theatre of combat, where every move is a potential victory or defeat. Step 1 demands that you pinpoint the lifeless burden you're unwittingly hauling behind you, not merely your past missteps or defeats, but the very essence of your identity. This includes the self-narratives you recite like scripture, the tags you've internalized from society, the shortcomings you parade as if they were medals of authenticity. Phrases like "I'm overly emotional by nature," "this has always been my pattern," or "that's simply my inherent character," aren't objective realities. They're self-inflicted death sentences, scripted lines that your opponents memorize to dominate you. The second you proclaim "this defines me," you're essentially gifting them the dagger poised at your throat. Machiavelli recognized that personal identity represents the primary chink in one's defenses, ripe for exploitation. Thus, you must excise this decay with unrelenting force. Interrogate yourself. Which descriptor pins you down and curtails your ascent? The perpetual nice guy who appeases all, the sensitive artist confined to emotional fragility, the loyal friend exploited for unwavering support, the reliable worker forever undervalued. These aren't admirable qualities in the power paradigm. They're restrictive enclosures, roles assigned by external directors to keep you scripted and contained. The instant you shatter these confines and step beyond, the surrounding world descends into disarray. For dominance isn't derived from conforming to expectations, it's claimed by pulverizing the mold itself. Therefore, don't aim to grow more assertive in incremental steps. Transform into the archetype who views no as an alien concept, unworthy of acknowledgement. Don't merely establish firmer limits, embody the boundary, an immovable frontier others dare not cross. Don't strive to regulate your feelings. Evolve into the figure who harnesses composure as a lethal tool, turning silence into a blade. This isn't the warm glow of affirmative progress. It's a mental beheading, a ruthless severance. You don't preserve your foundational self and bolt on reinforcements. You torch that nucleus to oblivion and reconstruct it anew, drawing from the scorched remnants of your own unyielding ferocity. Step 2. Annihilate your past publicly, but not how you think. Most people reinvent by explaining, by apologizing, by saying, "I've changed." That's weakness. That's begging for permission. The Machiavellian method is colder. You don't announce the change. You embody it so violently that the old you becomes a ghost. When someone references your past mistake, you don't correct them. You refuse to recognize it. I don't know who you're talking about. When they call you too emotional, you don't defend. You become the man who stares through them like they're speaking a dead language. When they expect you to react to betrayal like you did last time, you don't react at all. Not with anger, not with silence, with the absolute absence of the man they thought you were. You don't say, "I've grown." You become the growth. And in that becoming, you force them to confront a terrifying truth. The man you knew is dead, and you don't know who's standing in his place. That's when fear sets in. Not respect. Fear, because fear is the currency of power, and the strongest version of you isn't respected, he's feared. Step 3. Weaponize your shame. Most people hide their shame. They bury it. They pretend it doesn't exist. Machiavelli would call this cowardice. Your shame isn't a weakness to conceal, it's ammunition to deploy. The moment you stop running from what you're ashamed of, you turn it into your sharpest blade. They called you arrogant for speaking your mind. Become arrogance incarnate, not as a flaw, but as a feature. Yes, I am arrogant, and that's why I win while you're still apologizing. They shamed you for being more manipulative. Own it, not as deception, but as strategy. I don't manipulate, I navigate. And you're still stuck in the fog. They mocked you for being cold. Become the cold that freezes their games solid. Clarity feels like ice to those who thrive in the dark. This isn't confidence. Confidence is fragile. This is strategic reclamation. You take the knife they stabbed you with and shove it deeper into their narrative. You don't deny the label. You redefine it so violently that it becomes a badge of power, and their accusation becomes a confession of their own weakness. You call me ruthless. Good, let it haunt you. This is power reinvention's core law. The strongest version of you isn't the man without flaws. It's the man who turns every flaw into a weapon pointed at his enemies' throats. Step 4. Become unreadable by design. The old you was predictable. You had tells. You had triggers. You had emotional patterns. They could exploit. The strongest version has none. Not because you suppress emotion, but because you transmute it. Fear becomes focus. Anger becomes precision. Insecurity becomes mystery. You train yourself to feel the sting of betrayal and let it pass through you like wind through a canyon. No residue, no reaction, just the calm after the storm. You study every micro-expression, every word choice, every silence, not to hide your own, but to master the art of giving nothing away. When they try to read you, they see only a mirror reflecting their own desperation. This isn't acting, it's a Risha. You don't hide your emotions. You remove the stage where emotions are performed. The result, paralysis. They can't fight a man they can't read. They can't trap a man who leaves no footprints. And when they realize the man they thought they knew has vanished into a void of pure strategy, that's when your reinvention is complete. Step 5. Sacrifice the good for the unstoppable. This is where 99% fail. They want to be the strongest version and keep their comfort and keep their reputation. and keep people's love. Machiavelli laughs at this. True power demands sacrifice, not of time or effort, but of the self you thought you needed to be loved. You will lose people, not the strong ones, the weak ones who only loved the old you, the fair-weather friends who only stayed for your predictability, the users who only needed your accessibility. Let them go, not with bitterness, with relief. Because the strongest version of you isn't built on consensus, it's built on carnage. Every person who can't handle your reinvention wasn't in your corner, they were holding you down. When you vanish, the old you, the weak scatter like cockroaches in the light. And that's not loss, that's filtration. The ones who remain, they don't love you despite your reinvention. They fear you because of it. And that fear is the purest form of respect. This is the brutal trade. You don't get to be both loved and unstoppable. You choose power or you choose approval, and the strongest version chooses power every time. Step 6. Reinvent rhythmically. Not once, but constantly. Most people reinvent once and think they're done. They pick a new identity and cling to it like driftwood. That's how you become predictable again. The Machiavellian operator reinvents rhythmically, like a serpent shedding skin. You don't wait for crisis. You reinvent at the peak of your power when the world thinks they've got you figured out. One day you're the calm strategist. The next you're the volcanic force they never saw coming. 1 month you're the silent observer. The next you're the man who speaks 3 words and shifts empires. This isn't inconsistency. It's strategic unpredictability. You keep the core ruthlessness, but you change the expression so often that no one can map your movements. They think they've cornered you. You become the man who wasn't there to corner. They think they've exposed your weakness. You reveal it was never a weakness. It was bait. This is how you stay ahead, by making your reinvention the only constant in your life. Step 7. Use your absence as the ultimate declaration. Reinvention isn't just about what you do, it's about what you stop being. The strongest version of you doesn't just add strength, he removes weakness. And the most powerful removal, your presence in spaces that diminish you, when you vanish from the meetings where you're undervalued, not with anger but with silent finality. You don't just leave a seat empty, you leave a power vacuum. When you stop replying to messages that drain you, not with "I'm busy," but with radio silence. You don't just ignore noise, you redefine your value. When you walk out of relationships that require you to shrink, not with drama but with calm detachment. You don't just end a connection, you erase the expectation that you'll ever be small again. This is the scarcity protocol of self-reinvention. Your absence isn't retreat, it's the declaration that the old you is dead and the new you chooses where he appears. And when you do reappear, not as an explanation, as an event, calm, unchanged, unapologetic, radiating the unspoken truth. I don't need your permission to exist. I don't need your validation to be strong. My presence is not a right. It's a privilege you must earn. That's when they realize the man they knew is gone, and the man standing before them, he's untouchable. Now, let's get tactical. How do you execute power reinvention today? Not as theory, but as blood sport. First, conduct a ritual of self-annihilation, not journaling, not affirmations. Ritual, find the physical object that represents your old identity, the diploma that chains you to a path you've outgrown, the gift from a relationship that drained you, the business card that labels you as less. Hold it in your hands. Feel the weight of the cage it represents, then destroy it, burn it, shred it, bury it, not as catharsis, as declaration. This isn't about the object, it's about the symbolic murder of the man who needed it. Say aloud, that man is dead, he does not return. Then step over the ashes. This isn't metaphor, it's psychological warfare. You're not just changing your mind, you're exercising the ghost of who you were. Second, publicly reclaim your narrative without a word. When someone references your past self, don't correct them. Refuse to engage. They say you've always been too emotional. Smile, nod, say nothing. Or say that must be painful for you. They accuse you of past mistakes. Don't defend, don't explain. Stare through them like they're speaking to a stranger. Your silence isn't denial, it's annihilation. You're not saying that wasn't me. You're saying that man is dead, and I am not him. And when they persist, vanish. Not physically, emotionally. In the middle of the conversation, stop reacting, let your presence fade, like smoke. Your absence within the room is more disarming than walking out. It says, I am here, but I am not yours to define. Third, turn your weaknesses into traps. Identify the flaw everyone uses against you. Your arrogance, your coldness, your ruthlessness. Then amplify it not as a flaw, but as a feature. When they call you arrogant, become arrogance so sharp it cuts their legs out. Confidence terrifies the stagnant. When they call you cold, become the ice that freezes their games. Clarity feels like winter to those who live in fog. When they call you ruthless, become the blade they can't hold. Only the weak need kindness. The strong build empires. This isn't confidence. It's strategic inversion. You take their weapon and turn it into your shield, then your sword, and in doing so you force them to confront their own insecurity. Why does my strength threaten you? Fourth, become a ghost in your own life. Reinvention isn't just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. Start vanishing from your own noise. When anxiety hits, don't feed it. Disappear from the thought. When doubt creeps in, don't engage. Let it echo in the void you create. When ego demands you react, step back into silence. Train yourself to feel the sting of criticism and let it pass through you like wind. No residue, no reaction, just the calm after the storm. This is the foundation to be so secure in your new identity that the old man's ghosts can't haunt you, because the strongest version of you isn't built on self-love, it's built on self-sovereignty. Fifth, sacrifice your reputation for power. Most people cling to their good name, like a life raft. They beg to twice understood. They scrambled to clear their name. Machiavelli knew your reputation isn't innocence, it's control, and control requires sacrifice. Let them call you ruthless. Let them call you cold. Let them call you dangerous. Don't correct them. Amplify it. Post a single line. People always call you dangerous when they can't control you. Or better, say nothing. Let the void where your defense should be become their prison. When you stop chasing innocence, you stop admitting guilt. When you stop explaining, you become a mystery they can't solve. And mystery isn't confusion, it's fear. The strongest version of you doesn't have a good reputation. He has a strong one. Not always liked, not always trusted, but no one dares move against him casually, because even his silence feels like a decision. Sixth, reinvent your digital footprint strategically. Online, most people reinvent by posting, I've changed stories or deleting old content. Amateur, the Machiavellian operator leaves the corpse visible, but makes it irrelevant. Don't delete your past posts. Outgrow them. Post something so sharp, so undeniable, that the old content becomes a footnote to your legend. When someone digs up an old tweet to shame you, don't engage. Post a single line. The man who wrote that is dead. What's your excuse? Or better, say nothing. Let the silence stretch until they start justifying why they believed the old you mattered. Your online presence isn't about erasing the past. It's about making the past look like a different man's mistake. And when you vanish for weeks, don't announce it. Just stop. Let the algorithm bury you. Let the trolls think they've won. Then return with a post so lethal, it makes the void feel like a prelude to war. Not I'm back, but you've been warned. Seventh, use reinvention as a loyalty filter. Not everyone deserves to witness your rebirth. When you vanish, the old you, the weak, will panic. They'll flood your inbox. They'll badmouth you behind your back. They'll demand you explain your silence. Let them. Their reaction to your reinvention reveals their character. The insecure will assume you're plotting against them. The guilty will assume you've discovered their lies. The emotionally mature, they'll respect the void. And that's how you see who's worth your presence. The strongest version of you doesn't collect people. He curates them by making his presence scarce. He turns access into a privilege, not a right. And when he returns, he doesn't apologize for changing. He rewards those who respected the transformation. Eighth, master the art of the unexplained return. Reinvention isn't complete until you reappear, not as the same man, but as a new force. When you return after vanishing the old, you don't explain, don't justify, don't soften the blow. Walk into the room like you own the silence you created, radiating the unspoken truth. I left because I chose to. I'm back because I chose to. My presence is not a given, it's a gift you must earn. And when they ask what happened to you, smile, say nothing or say you wouldn't understand, then change the subject. Your reinvention isn't a story to tell, it's a reality to endure. And the strongest version of you doesn't seek understanding, he demands adaptation. Now, the darkest application, reinvent after betrayal, without a word. When someone betrays you, the instinct is to confront, to scream, to demand accountability. Don't reinvent, not by changing who you are, but by becoming unrecognizable as the man they betrayed. Cut all contact, not with anger, but with surgical precision. Let your absence be the only consequence they face. No drama, no explanations, just gone. And when you return weeks later, not as the victim, as the victor, calm, composed, radiating the unspoken truth, your betrayal didn't break me. It erased the man you knew, and the man standing here doesn't care. They'll beg for an explanation. Don't give it. Let them drown in the void, because the moment you reinvent after betrayal, you shift the burden of proof. It's no longer you proving your innocence. It's them proving their worthiness of your return. That's how power reinvention flips the script on injustice. You don't fight the lie, you make the lie irrelevant by becoming a man the lie can't touch. Ninth, turn your pain into your power source. Most people hide their pain. They medicate it. They pretend it doesn't exist. The strongest version feeds on it. Every betrayal isn't a wound, it's data. Every lie isn't a heartbreak, it's intelligence. Every failure isn't an end, it's a blueprint. You don't heal from pain, you harvest it. You study the betrayal like a scientist. How did they do it? Where was I vulnerable? What did I ignore? You file it away, not for revenge, but for leverage, because the ruthless mind doesn't seek payback, it seeks patterns, and patterns are always more powerful than rage. When someone betrays you, the weak mind screams, "How could you?" The strongest version smiles and thinks, "Now I know exactly where your loyalty ends." That knowledge is power. Power to anticipate, power to outmaneuver, power to make them beg for your trust, while you hold theirs in your palm like a dying ember. This is the alchemy of power reinvention. Your pain isn't your weakness, it's your weapon if you have the courage to forge it. 10th, reinvent your relationships without warning. When a relationship no longer serves your strength, don't break up, reinvent. Stop engaging at the old level. When they try to pull you into drama, don't react. Breathe. Let the silence stretch. When they demand your emotional labor, say, "That's not who I am anymore," not as an apology, but as a verdict. And if they can't handle the new you, let them go. Not with bitterness, with relief, because the strongest version of you doesn't mourn the death of weak bonds. He celebrates the space they leave for unbreakable ones. This isn't cruelty, it's clarity, and clarity is the ultimate form of respect. Now, the critical mistake: never reinvent for approval. Power reinvention isn't about becoming more lovable, it's about becoming less breakable. If you're changing to be accepted, you're still chained to the old you. The strongest version reinvents for himself, not to be liked, but to be unstoppable. He doesn't ask, "Will they like this?" He asks, "Does this make me harder to kill?" And if the answer is yes, he becomes it, even if it costs him everything, because in the end, the only approval that matters is his own, and the man who approves of his own annihilation, he is already free. The world clings to a comforting lie, one whispered in the cradle and reinforced through years of platitudes, that your authenticity is your strength, that staying true to who you are is the path to power. This is a deception, a velvet cage designed to keep you small, predictable, and controllable. When you embrace reinvention, when you dare to dismantle the self you've been told to cherish, you expose this lie for what it is, a tool of the weak to chain the strong. People will label your transformation as inauthentic, calculated, or cold, but their words betray their fear. I can't control you anymore. Reinvention doesn't just break their hold over you, it obliterates the illusion that they ever had one. When you shed the skin of your former self, you don't just change, you become a force they cannot predict, a shadow they cannot grasp, a power they cannot tame. When you're predictable, others believe they own you. They think they can anticipate your reactions, manipulate your emotions, and demand your loyalty. They thrive on the comfort of knowing your limits, your triggers, your vulnerabilities. But when you reinvent, that illusion crumbles. The moment you step out of the box they've built for you, panic sets in, not because they've lost you, but because they realize they never truly had you. This is why the weak will plead with you to be yourself. They're not seeking your authenticity, they're demanding your submission. They want you to remain the version of you they can control, the one who fits neatly into their narrative. Don't give them that power. Your reinvention isn't a betrayal of truth, it's the ultimate declaration of it. I am not who I was. I am not who you want me to be. I am who I choose to be, and that choice is mine alone. Turning enemies into weapons, the power of strategic deflection. The Machiavellian approach to reinvention isn't just about shedding your old self, it's about turning the battlefield to your advantage. When enemies attack, they expect you to defend or retreat. Both responses play into their hands, keeping you on their terms. Instead, reinvent their attack. Transform their accusations into their weaknesses. This is not mere deflection, it's a calculated power move, a psychological judo throw that uses their own force against them. When they call you arrogant, don't deny it. Lean into it with surgical precision. Strange how confidence unsettles those who lack it. When they label you manipulative, don't flinch. Only those who fear influence call it manipulation. When they accuse you of being fake, turn the mirror on them. People cry fake when they no longer get what they want. You don't just neutralize their attack, you make it their undoing. Their accusations become their insecurities. Their words a confession of their own fragility. Now they're the ones scrambling to explain themselves, caught in the trap they set for you. This is what Machiavelli would call the turn of the blade. Don't meet their sword with a shield. Let them impale themselves on their own weapon. Their attack becomes their public collapse. And you don't just win, you redefine the battlefield. You've shifted the narrative so completely that their attempt to wound you becomes a display of their own weakness. This isn't about proving them wrong, it's about making their attack irrelevant. In the ashes of their failed assault, you stand untouched, not because you defended yourself, but because you rewrote the rules of engagement. The final evolution, the man who is already dead. The ultimate reinvention transcends change itself. The strongest version of you isn't the man who evolves or adapts. He's the man who refuses to be defined by any static identity. He doesn't reinvent to find himself. He reinvents because he has no self to protect. His identity is not a fortress to defend or a story to tell. It's a ghost, intangible and untouchable. He walks into every room with a singular truth. My presence is a verdict, not a statement. My silence is not weakness. It's the countdown to your unraveling. My past is not a history. It's a tombstone you're standing on. When the world comes for him, and they always come for the strong, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't defend or explain. He lets their accusations hang in the air, heavy and impotent, like a foul odor they can't escape. With the calm of a man who has already won, he offers nothing, or perhaps a single word, interesting, or two, keep talking. In that space, their attack collapses, not because he countered it, but because they destroyed themselves with their own desperation. Their words, their anger, their attempts to pin him down, they all dissolve in the void of his reinvention. This man doesn't need to reinvent because he's searching for meaning. He reinvents because he's already dead to the expectations of others. He's shed the weight of needing approval, of fearing judgment, of clinging to a past that no longer serves him. His power lies in his refusal to be defined, not by his enemies, not by his allies, not even by himself. He is a force of pure strategy, a phantom who moves through the world leaving no trace, no blueprint, no vulnerability, and in that absence, he becomes unstoppable. This is the Machiavellian art of reinvention, not a journey to self-discovery, but a relentless act of self-destruction and recreation. You don't become a better version of yourself. You become a different entity entirely, one that the world cannot predict, control, or defeat. Your enemy's weapons become your tools, their accusations, your armor, their desperation, your victory. And in the end, you stand not as a man who changed, but as a man who erased himself and wrote a new name in the ashes, a name that commands fear, respect, and power.